He seemed so normal. He was a charming, handsome, and intelligent man. Ted Bundy was the embodiment of American normalcy, but beneath this facade of normalcy lurked a monster. He was a predator who shattered the lives of countless innocent women. Bundy's reign of terror exposed the dark side of America, proving that evil can hide in plain sight. This all-American boy next door was a wolf in sheep's clothing. Bundy's crimes shook the nation. How could someone so ordinary-looking commit such horrific acts? His trial became a media spectacle. People struggled to reconcile the charming law student with the depraved killer. Ted Bundy's duality remains a chilling reminder that appearances can be deceiving. Evil can wear many masks. Ted Bundy's legacy extends far beyond his crimes. He has become a cultural phenomenon. His case continues to both fascinate and horrify. True crime books, documentaries, and even movies try to unravel the enigma of Ted Bundy. What drove him to kill? What dark secrets lurked beneath his charismatic surface? These questions continue to haunt us. Ted Bundy's name has become synonymous with evil. He serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of trusting strangers. His crimes serve as a grim reminder that monsters can lurk in the most unexpected places. Bundy's story is a chilling testament to the dark capacity that lies within the human heart. He shattered the illusion of safety and left an indelible mark on the American psyche. To understand the monster, we must first examine the man. Ted Bundy's story is a chilling example of a seemingly ordinary childhood that descended into a dark adulthood. Ted Bundy's early life was marked by both normalcy and turmoil. While he seemingly had an ordinary upbringing, there were underlying elements of darkness. Born Theodore Robert Cowell in 1946, Bundy's early years were shrouded in secrecy and shame. His mother, Louise, faced the societal pressures of having a child out of wedlock. Raised by his unwed mother's parents, Bundy's true parentage was concealed from him, creating a confusing and fragmented sense of identity. This deception would have a profound impact on Bundy's sense of self and self-worth. Living with the constant uncertainty of his origins left deep scars on his psyche. Growing up in a seemingly loving and stable home, Bundy showed no outward signs of the darkness that would consume him. His family believed he had a normal childhood. He was described as a bright and charismatic child, excelling in school and displaying a knack for charming those around him. However, beneath these achievements, dark thoughts were brewing. However, cracks began to appear beneath the surface of normalcy. A sense of unease and dark thoughts festered within Bundy. A fascination with violence and disturbing imagery emerged, hinting at the darkness that lay dormant within him. These were early signs of his future behavior. As Bundy matured, his troubled inner world began to manifest in increasingly disturbing ways. His teenage years saw the darkness within him become more pronounced. He developed a morbid curiosity with voyeurism, secretly spying on unsuspecting women. This compulsion reflected his desire for control and dominance. This voyeuristic behavior escalated, morphing into a dangerous obsession with control and dominance. The seeds of his future depravity were sown. This marked the beginning of his dark journey. While no single event can fully explain Bundy's transformation into a cold-blooded killer, his early life provides a crucial context. His story highlights the complex interplay of nature and nurture. The shame surrounding his illegitimacy, coupled with his developing dark fantasies, created a toxic mix within his psyche. This concoction would form the foundation of his future actions. Bundy's descent into darkness illustrates the complex interplay of nature and nurture in shaping a monster. His story can help us understand the dark side of human nature. Ted Bundy was a master manipulator. His dark charm and intelligence made him one of history's most terrifying serial killers. He possessed an uncanny ability to disarm and entice his victims, often lulling them into a false sense of security. He drew them in with a deceptive aura of trustworthiness, leading them to believe they were safe in his presence. This was one of his most dangerous weapons. This charm, coupled with his good looks and intelligence, proved to be his deadliest weapon. People simply trusted him. Bundy understood the power of appearance and used it to his advantage. His sharp clothing and confident demeanor made him all the more appealing. He often presented himself as harmless, even charming, to gain his victims' trust. This allowed him to manipulate his victims easily. Bundy would often feign injury or disability to appear non-threatening. This made it easier for him to approach his victims. He would approach women asking for help carrying books, fixing his car, or even pretending to have an injured arm. This made his victims vulnerable. This calculated vulnerability disarmed his victims, making them more likely to offer their assistance. He preyed on their good nature. Once they were alone and vulnerable, Bundy would strike, their trust tragically misplaced. This revealed his ruthless nature. He preyed on the kindness of strangers, exploiting their willingness to empathize and offer aid. This was all part of his hunting strategy. Witnesses described him as charismatic and engaging, a far cry from the monstrous image that would later emerge. No one suspected his true nature. Bundy's ability to blend in, to appear perfectly ordinary, made him all the more dangerous. This was one of his greatest advantages. He shattered the stereotype of the monstrous predator, proving that evil could lurk beneath even the most unassuming exterior. This showed just how dangerous he truly was. Bundy's charm was not just a tool for gaining trust, it was also a source of power and control for him. He derived a sick pleasure from manipulating his victims. Often engaging them in conversation and feigning interest in their lives. This highlighted his need for ultimate control over his victims. This manipulation extended even to the moments leading up to their deaths, highlighting the depths of his cruelty and his need for absolute control over his victims. It showcased his ruthless nature. His chilling ability to transform from a charming stranger into a cold-blooded killer is a testament to the depths of his depravity. His dark charm was the ultimate betrayal of innocence. Ted Bundy's reign of terror began in the Pacific Northwest in the early 1970s. It was a time when the region was gripped by growing fear and uncertainty as young women began to disappear with alarming frequency. Young women were vanishing at an alarming rate, their disappearances leaving behind a trail of fear and unanswered questions. Each disappearance fueled more panic in the community, leaving people feeling unsafe. Witnesses reported seeing a charismatic young man, often with his arm in a sling, approaching women and offering help. This man, at first glance, seemed harmless and even helpful, allowing him to easily deceive his victims. This seemingly harmless figure would later become synonymous with one of America's most notorious serial killers. Ted Bundy, with his charisma and intelligence, was a master at luring his victims into a false sense of security. As the body count rose, so did the awareness of Bundy's horrific crimes. Each new discovery brought more fear and terror to the community. Law enforcement agencies across multiple states found themselves hunting a cunning and elusive predator. Detectives were forced to work together across state lines to track Bundy's movements. As the details of Bundy's crimes came to light, they were nothing short of horrifying. Each new piece of information revealed the depths of his cruelty and calculation. He would often bludgeon his victims to death, later transporting them to secluded locations where he would engage in further acts of violence and depravity. These locations were often isolated areas where no one would easily find them. The brutality of his crimes shocked a nation. Newspapers and television screens were filled with headlines and reports of Bundy's terrifying acts. Bundy's modus operandi evolved, but his preference for young women with long, dark hair parted down the middle remained constant. This trait suggested a pattern in his victim selection. He often targeted college campuses, using his charm and intelligence to gain the trust of his victims. The college environment proved to be an ideal hunting ground for him. His crimes were not just acts of violence, they were violations of innocence, shattering the illusion of safety for young women across America. Each new attack brought more fear and distrust into the community. The fear he instilled was palpable, as parents warned their daughters about the dangers of talking to strangers. Families became more cautious and vigilant in an attempt to protect their children. Despite mounting pressure from law enforcement, Bundy evaded capture. Apprehending him became a significant challenge for the police. He used his intelligence and knowledge of police procedures to stay one step ahead. This knowledge made him even more difficult to catch. His ability to blend in, to appear perfectly ordinary, made him nearly impossible to apprehend. He could easily disappear into the crowd. Bundy's reign of terror spanned years, leaving a trail of heartbreak and horror across multiple states. His actions forever changed the lives of countless families.